Is buying plants at the supermarket a good idea? Bringing your own bag? I do that sometimes, even though for me at the nursery, it still comes back to me. Growing my own plants is usually cheaper, but sometimes I buy them to start production or get new varieties. In supermarkets, you can find some gems at prices that really beat all the competition. These are often the same plants found at seed suppliers or nurseries, so don't hesitate. I'm going to show you the few gems I have in my bag today. I'll tell you what you can find, where to find them, and how to grow them. I'll also give you 2 or 3 tips to watch out for, since there are still a few things to be careful about. For most plants, it's still extremely beneficial. That's all we're covering today. Let's begin. Where can you go to find it? Well, of course, in big supermarkets, you'll find quite a lot of things. That being said, personally, I still always do my shopping at Biocoop, and that's for 2 reasons. The first reason is that at Biocoop or any organic store, you'll find local products that you can easily grow at home. So I say local, or at least French, not things from far away that you can't easily grow at home. Another reason is that these stores sell organic products, so the plants are free of pesticide residues, which I personally prefer. That being said, when I'm looking for a plant that I can't find in an organic store, my passion for plants goes far, so I still buy it anyway. But in that case, there are a few precautions to take. We'll see that a bit later. So in Biocoop, you can find quite a lot of things. And then, of course, supermarkets and hypermarkets. Sometimes you also have some small Asian shops where you can find some real gems. Take extra care when buying plants from supermarkets or hypermarkets. Sometimes the best plants come from far away, even from abroad. Plants are treated with anti-germination products, so sometimes they simply don't grow. You can see it, for example, with avocado pits, which are getting harder and harder to sprout these days. But when I was a kid, they would sprout on their own. What can you find in this place? You can find things like these lemongrass cuttings for propagation. You enjoyed the lemongrass short I made recently. We grabbed some lemongrass sachets to eat, which cost 2.30 for 6 sticks like this, and you can use them for cuttings and get 6 lemongrass plants. You'll find many tubers. I don't buy Jerusalem artichokes, yacon, or sweet potatoes since we grow them here. But you can find some rarer things like taro, water chestnut. So cassava doesn't propagate easily from cuttings, but maybe I'll try it one day anyway. We'll be able to find seeds or something to make seeds. Here I have a kiwano fruit and some tamario, also called tree tomato. It's a perennial vegetable, but it doesn't grow well here. So I lost mine last winter, so now I have something to make seeds again. Here are some fruits and chayotes. Looks like we'll find plenty. So be careful, just because you can get them to sprout doesn't mean you'll be able to easily grow them at home. Some plants come from far away and may struggle to survive the winter here. If you can't grow them outside, you can grow them indoors. For example, taro, Latin name colocasia, is similar to alocasia, also called elephant ear. It's one of the most classic indoor plants. There you can do the same thing. Once they get too big, divide them, repot the small ones and eat the big ones. There you go, we can eat our indoor plants now. About the seeds, it's a bit more complicated. And to make it complete, we would really need an entire video about that, but we'll still try to summarize it. First, we can say that you can replant and grow without too much trouble all the plants for which there's not much risk of hybridization. For example, the cucurbit family includes squash, cucumber, melon, watermelon, etc. If there were several different varieties of the same species that were grown together, and that you can't really know, you'll have a hard time replanting the seeds. But on the other hand, for some fruits like kiwano from the cucurbit family, it seems to be the only variety we grow in its species. I don't think there's much risk, so we can do it. On the other hand, there's another family that's quite interesting and for which there's not much risk of hybridization. It's the nightshade family. Tomatoes, eggplants, peppers and chilies, you can easily replant their seeds. If you find an interesting chili in a store, save its seeds and replant them. They should grow. For example, tamario is part of this family, and so is physalis. Now we've gotten a bit ahead here because we grow them here, but the fruits aren't ripe yet. There you go, I can get a few seeds from this. Another way to find seeds. You can sometimes find edible seed packets such as anise, fennel or seeds sold for sprouting. After sprouting, you can replant them in your garden. In this case, the price is much more attractive than that of regular seed packets. And a quick word about the price, because that's really the most interesting thing about this kind of place. You should know you'll buy products by the kilo in supermarkets, Biocoop or anywhere else, whereas with the seed supplier you'll get the price per unit or per number of seeds. Here's an example with chayote, which is the most expensive seed because each fruit has only one seed. So when you buy that from seed suppliers, they give you the price for one fruit. When you find it at Biocoop, they give you the price per kilo. I'm not sure what it costs at the supermarket. At Biocoop, I pay about €5 per kilo, sometimes 6, which is very expensive. Supermarkets are usually cheaper, but at Biocoop it's €6 per kilo. Smaller fruits let you get 3 or 4. You can get up to 5 small fruits per kilo. At 4 fruits per kilo and €6 per kilo, each fruit costs €1.50. Seed websites, organic or not, are all too expensive. It's the same everywhere. At Saint-Martin Farm, a Coco Peli fruit costs €7.50 or €4.50 each, which isn't cheap. At Magellan, they're $8.99 each or $6.80 for non-organic. At Beaumont and Bouquet, it's €10. It's very expensive, and just look at the websites. Most of the time it's out of stock, so it costs a fortune and it's not even available. Buy it at Biocoop or, if needed, the supermarket. You still win and get the same result. A quick note on fruit size. Fruits from seed suppliers are often quite small. We think it's a scam because the supermarket has better, bigger fruits. No, take the smallest ones, not the biggest. With smaller fruits, you get more fruits and seeds per weight, at least in this case. For fruits like Tamario with seeds inside, choose the largest, ripest ones. Green fruit means it was picked too early. Choose the largest, ripest fruits instead. For chayotes and similar vegetables, pick the smallest ones. You'll get plenty. Now, a method for growing this. For me, it's pretty much always the same for anything that's tubers, cuttings, and so on. Place in moist potting soil and keep in a warm, humid spot. This usually works. If it's a somewhat exotic plant that comes from a warm country that doesn't know winter and you want to grow it indoors, you can do it anytime. It works right now. You can do that for ginger, turmeric, taro, and dos. There you go. Keep the potting soil indoors and well moistened at home. For taro, you can simply place the pot in a saucer with water as it thrives in humidity. It should soon root and start growing. Next, for everything you can grow outdoors, like sweet potatoes, Jerusalem artichokes, liantis, and some yams. There you go, that. You can grow it outdoors, but in autumn or winter, it's not the right time yet. You'll have to wait until spring. That being said, you can't just leave them out in the open like that until spring, otherwise they'll dry out and it won't work. So you can keep them in a storage container filled with sand, a pot with holes at the bottom filled with damp sand. Put it in a frost-free spot, like a cellar or garage. It shouldn't freeze or get too warm. It should stay outside but safe from frost. So you store them in damp sand until spring. In spring, after the frost risk is gone, we can plant it outside to grow all year. Harvest them before next winter's frost so you can repeat the process. And for the seeds, it's pretty much the same. First, you'll need to get the seeds out of the fruit, clean them, store them, and keep them dry during the winter. In spring, sow them like annual vegetables. Alright, it works exactly the same way. I'll finish with 2 or 3 interesting questions that people asked me on my last post. Starting with the question about organic food. Is it better to have an organic fruit or a non-organic one? Well, personally, as I said, I do my shopping at Biocoop, so there are no problems with pesticides there. Now imagine someone wants to eat a plant not found in organic stores like taro. And let's imagine that this person wants to eat taro but doesn't want to eat a single drop of pesticides. Well, this is a very specific case. Let me remind you that even if it's sold in supermarkets, it's still sold as a food product. So eating them with some pesticides won't poison us. Don't eat 40 kilos daily and you'll be fine. Just my opinion. That being said, if you really want to eat them clean, grow them indoors, propagate them, and then once you've taken a cutting and grown it for a while clean and without pesticides, that should be fine. No problem. Actually, maybe this question was for me. And to know, as a nurseryman, can you buy plants that aren't organic and resell them as organic? Of course not, that's forbidden, but you can get exemptions for some plants that aren't available organically. You can get exemptions to obtain these plants as non-organic, but there are certain obligations, including a time limit. You need to cultivate it for a while until it becomes organic. If you buy non-organic this year, cultivate and multiply it for one season, you can sell it next year. There's no problem. Another question is, isn't there a risk of cultivating invasive plants? And that because of people like me, one day we end up with invasive plants everywhere. So let me remind you that here we're talking about food plants that have been sold in stores in France for quite a few years. Still, these plants are already in our country, and if they aren't grown, it's because our climate doesn't support them. If you plant taro or lemongrass, they won't survive winter, so there's no invasion risk. Everything's fine. Another question that made me laugh a little, I'll read it to you. So question from Dorfdoidel68, it's mainly the DSV that won't appreciate it. Where's the phyto passport at the Chinese shop, Chalova? Thanks, Dorfdoidel68 first, DSV, Veterinary Services Directorate. The Veterinary Services Directorates are also responsible for handling food products derived from livestock. These are plants, not animals, so DSV isn't an issue. On the other hand, you're talking about a phyto passport. Yes, we could have an issue with the DRAF. For us to get our phytosanitary passports, we go through the DRAF. Phytosanitary passports apply only to plants sold to professionals or online. That's not true for the ones I'm referring to. I'm referring to plants we propagate for ourselves and if needed later propagate to sell online, as we do with some plants. Well, we check with the DRAF and we have a phytosanitary passport because we sell healthy plants. And by the way, I'll put a link over there if you want to see what we have available right now. So thanks anyway for your question, which in the end was funny and interesting. I'll end with one last question I found very interesting. It's, does sharing this kind of information harm my job as a nurseryman? Because, well, yes. If everyone learns to propagate their own plants and buys cheaper ones at the supermarket, I won't sell anything. I've often heard that comment, even when I did the markets. The old-timers often reproached me for giving customers too many gifts, saying it wouldn't help me make a living. Even after 15 years, I'm still a nurseryman. So you might actually think that sharing this kind of information could harm my work as a nurseryman. Still, I don't see it that way. Being a nurseryman isn't just selling plants, it's also sharing my knowledge and passion for them. So that's what I'm doing here by allowing people to access plants they wouldn't be able to get if they had to pay full price at nurseries. So I find that interesting. One thing that makes my job beautiful is having to search for them every year. New plants, varieties, species, fruits, and those not typically found in supermarkets. When these plants become common enough to be found there, I'll search for new ones. That's part of what makes this job both difficult and so beautiful, and I love it so much. I remind myself there will always be both lazy and hardworking people. The time spent going to the supermarket, getting plants rooted and waiting for them to grow makes many prefer buying mature plants. And so you can only find that at nurseries. And then at nurseries, we go there to support him and get his advice. If you'd like to visit, support us or buy plants, we're open every Saturday afternoon. I'm using this chance to advertise. This Saturday, November 8th, I'm holding a seed workshop to teach you how to produce, harvest, store and replant seeds. All that. So if you're interested, I'll see you this Saturday starting at 3 post-meridium. And if you're not from the area, we also sell plants online. As I said earlier, while I'm at the end of this video, I wish you good shopping now. Go have a look around here and there. Let me know in the comments what you found. And then that's it. Share this video, like it. If you want to support me financially, you can do so through the Typee platform. Thanks to everyone who does or will do it. Without you, I couldn't take the time for all this. There you go, that's done. Well, I'll see you very soon. Bye.